When I go into talking about sustainability, then it's a political issue. And I don't want to be
Yeah.
political. I just want to be like, obviously, we all have to only
Yeah.
take what we need and clean up after ourselves. Everybody can agree to that. Are we doing something that's better for the world, or are we just pretending? If you have $1 billion, buy all the landfills, because the landfills will be the mines of the future. Like, first of all, my mission is not to be an artist, it's to be a game changer. My biggest problem in this project it is that I've been gone 3 times, 3 days in a 21-day project, and
Yeah.
coming in and out of Fargo. Every time you lose 48 hours
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's just so. Yeah, so it's the time.
Yes.
It's the time thing, and I know I have super much respect you because my good friend
Yeah.
Matt Haynes,
Yeah.
he met a girl in America and he married her, and now they are in Denmark, and now I know that that you know something about YouTube, because I want to be good on YouTube, because
Yeah.
my mission is not to make sculptures. My mission is to teach about recycling,
Yeah.
and that's what the world needs to know.
And for my audience that hasn't met you before, Thomas does recycled art, basically. I'm going to oversimplify, but around the world, and it started in Denmark, right? Um, from what I understand, you're a little bit more of like a street artist kind of vibe originally.
Yeah, that's where I started. I started painting graffiti, and I started basically. I start like, well, stories can become long, but I started making graffiti and rap music and human beatboxing in the early 2000s in Denmark, and then that took me on a journey to make large scale sculptures, and then I'm sitting on the end of that.
And now it's kind of turning into like a little bit team, more team kind of traveling around, constructing these things, but also involving the local community. So that's like the quick, this is what we're up to. And I'm out here in Detroit Lakes. Go, if you haven't been, there's a bunch of trolls being built around here that are about to be completed. And you can go on an adventure to see all those trolls and get a clue from each one to find kind of an end payoff of some type. So check that out. We just did it with we just went to see some of the trolls with a couple of families yesterday, and it was lovely, and kids love it and stuff like that. So I'm going to ask a little bit more in-depth questions because I want this interview to be interesting for you. So that was part of what I was thinking about here, but I also wanted to be interesting for contractors because that's a lot of our audience. So I wanted to ask, like, what are some of the more interesting building concepts that you feel like you've had to learn because of the unique challenges of building large troll sculptures? Like, what are some of the, like I saw yesterday when I was out at one of the job sites, like kind of some rocks as anchor, and we were kind of talking about like the lever, because the troll is kind of up like this, but it needs to be heavily weighted on its, basically like its haunches to not get toppled over if somebody like climbed up on it. What are some other interesting concepts?
Yeah, so what you're talking about is like a cantilever concept of instead of digging down, filling in a foundation of concrete or metal,
Yeah.
in order to not making a tower of like a Baywatch tower fall over or something like that.
Yeah.
So the basic concept of that inside the troll is build a tower, build it where it's laying down, and then stand it up, and then fill existing materials into it, and then you stand it up when the head is on the ground, and you stand it up, and then you build a sculpture around it. So people who are like more in like in the live music industry and like that, they'll know everything about like filling up a pallet tote or something like this with water. We are in the elements, so we'll take soil, we'll take our own scraps. Like we go through like 400 pallets or something when we're building a sculpture. Roughly a third of it will end up just being the scraps. So we can basically take our own scraps and then have them be our a big part of our cancer liver.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what you call it? Like, they just anchor our
Yeah.
sculpture down, right?
Yep.
It's the nicest thing is just like that. If you really apply that everything is a resource. If you apply that, then then you
It
know
opens up your
then
yes, and I think that goes with my core values. And I'm not like just to be real. So a lot of this is sustainable focused art. I'm not necessarily that big into like sustainability stuff, but what I resonate a lot with it is like scrappiness and like being resourceful,
yeah.
like and using what you have around you to like try to make something excellent, right? Like, and so I strongly resonate with that.
But
Yeah, sorry.
maybe I don't know how I can say it. Like in Denmark, we are on the. I was raised to be resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mother, she told me, be like only take what you need and clean up after yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's the nobody's grandmother did not tell them those two words,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody was told this, and in a time of need, the world might seem unlimited big, but when you have like corporations of the size that we have now in the world that are so ginormous, those corporations, they know that the minds of the world, they have a limited size. So then the resources, who gets those resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's ultimately what those big resources or those big companies, they come about, like because we can't keep exploiting the world, and we like Tesla cannot have a 10-year plan. Like Tesla cannot have a 10-year plan that does not include running out of certain resources,
Mm-hmm.
because the world has a finite size. So if you want to make it big, you have to think about. I think that's maybe the best way I can say it for the
Yeah.
American audience is like you have to think about how many resources do we have and how, because you will end up bobbing your head against how much is.
Mm.
So you're like so your freedom will bob its head against
Yeah.
the changing from getting the resources from a mine to buying the landfill and taking the material out of the landfill, because the world does not sustain infinite. It has a really certain size, and we are sitting on top of that size.
So knowing your
Maybe I'm like, I don't know. I'm talking for me it makes super much sense.
Yeah. No, I respect it, and I think what's interesting to me is like your mission around sustainability, and from my point of view, like the American
First of
audience
all,
is a little bit less like.
I like to call
yeah.
myself a recycle artist and not a sustainable artist,
Okay.
because because in this country it's been politicized
Yeah.
to be sustainable. So I don't want to be sustainable. I want to be resourceful. This is why I tell the story about my grandmother, because everybody can relate to it. But as long when I go into talking about sustainability, then it's a political issue, and I don't want to be political. I just want to be like, obviously, we all have to only take what we need and clean up after ourselves. Everybody can agree to that.
So what you're doing, like with this stuff, do you have anything that you've seen without getting like the impact of this stuff that you've done? Like what do you have doubts about your impact sometimes?
I think it's good to have doubt, right?
Talk to me about those, because I'm sure that you have a lot of people talking to you about the belief. And so I'm curious, like when you doubt it, where your brain goes. Like, because I think that's more interesting to me a little bit.
Like, but and that's also why I don't want to be the sustainable artist. I want to be the recycle artist. I want to shine the light on how much, how many resources that we are extracting from the world, and then we are drowning ourselves in these resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't go to the airport without getting something to eat, but then what I eat has to be like styrofoam. Now we are calling it like for a water bottle that is not made of plastic. It doesn't matter, because if that water bottle is still made of something
Yeah.
temporary and it still goes to a landfill, in
Yeah.
the end it doesn't really matter at all. Actually, it's just a bigger bump on the road. But I think that so can I sit here and talk about that without being a part of that system? No, I can't really.
That's
because
the toughest part, because like some people like get like existential crisis over the fact that they have to be involved in this world that does have a lot of waste.
Yeah, but it's
But you don't feel
that's
that.
why that's why
You don't feel that. You don't feel like any kind of like difficult emotions around that sometimes.
As far as I have, and that's why I don't like to go too deep into it, because if I'm not a part of the solution, then I'm a part of the revolution, and we don't want a revolution to change the system, because a weaponized revolution, in the end takes more resources than so you have to believe in good. Like, you understand what I mean?
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
like,
And I do want to bring us back a little bit to the construction contractor thing, since that's my main audience. I know other people will watch this, but I want to talk about the sustainable principles that you guys employ in these troll projects, and maybe any ones that you can think of that contractors could use, like in their actual work and building buildings and stuff like that.
Those are the things that I think it's important.
Yeah.
It's important to talk about, like, what can you do in your life in order to have an impact in your local environment to change that, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes too fluffy if we talk about like this big CO2. What is it? You can't even see it, you know? Like, it's so that's not important for me. For me, it always comes back to this, like what my mother told me, like, clean up after yourself, only take what you need, right?
Yeah.
So what can you do in your local environment? It's like, well, like, if you're building a home, then don't build a home that's bigger than what you need. Does the children of your children, do they need 5 porches on each side of the house? Do they, like, are you gonna
Do you think a contractor can make an impact on that?
I think it's really, really important that when a home is an investment, right? So a home shouldn't be a burden. If you build a home, like when I come with my European eyes, right, and I see the way that the American homes are being built, right, that it's kind of it's become a sport in the same way that a wedding ring or has, like, how many more like gems can you fit into a wedding ring, right?
Yeah.
If the value is a diamond, right, then you don't subdivide the diamond into a million pieces and then wrap it in a million different materials, because then that diamond gets lost, right?
Yeah.
Here the value is, we have the economy to build a house. Don't get lost in building a million houses with a million different windows, because the next generation won't have the money to pay for the upkeep of a million different roofs.
Yeah.
Like, so if you want to do the next generation a favor, you build them a simple house where they have the minimum amount of surface for the maximum amount of volume on the inside.
Which is kind of funny.
You understand what I mean?
Well, so a lot of our audience is actually roofers, and it's tough because I don't want to get us preachy, because partly is like roofing is very wasteful. If you look at this asphalt roof right here, like,
I know how it works.
It's gross. It's gross.
How it works, yeah.
It's a lot of waste, and that's where like we've partnered with like at least like roof treatments services, where it's like around like making it last another 5 years. And so that's one thing. But like, yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's a lot of waste. And like unnecessarily, I mean, something that would actually be interesting to our audience is, how do you see as like unnecessarily replacing a roof before it's actually reached its life?
Well, the most competitive, like the best business that you can have, it is to have the business that's in front of your competitors, right? And the business that, like, why are you making money? Are you making money to make money for you? Are you making money to make money for your family in 10 generations, right? So you have to ask yourself that question, like which
Like
one
where
is
you're going
more,
with this, yeah.
which one is more important, right? And all of these roofs, they are all built to last 50 years. I'm not the expert, right? But they're all exchanged in 15.
Yeah, it's
Something
usually,
like that,
15,
right?
20, yep.
So if a war happens, all these roofs you're exchanging, they'll all stay another 35 years,
Sure.
basically, right? And so now it's like, it's this weird upkeep of that. It's like the insurance won't cover it or whatever, and then we exchange it all just because somebody tells us not. We're not exchanging these roofs because it starts dripping.
Yeah.
We're not exchanging because it starts dripping,
Mm-hmm.
right? Those 35 years, that's what you should put in the bank. That is what you are exploiting from the resources of the world, from the next generation of your family.
It kind of goes, it's tough because
You
some
see
of
what I
these,
mean? Like,
yeah, some of these more sustainable roofs, like a metal roof, for instance, a lot of metal roofs can last much longer. It could last 60, 70 years, but they're so expensive. So they're kind of outside the bounds of a lot of like average people. So, and I think that that's something that Americans too have to struggle with sometimes in the way we position it, is like the more sustainable stuff sometimes feels like a luxury of the elites.
I like to not call it sustainable, but just talk about, like, only take what you need, clean up after yourself.
Yeah.
Like, because I think everybody, but yes, now we have so much surplus because we have become so good at exploiting the resources of the planet that we live on, so that we are in this, and people are then taking these techniques, and then they're calling them for sustainable. Like I love to come with this example here that I think this is like the mistake of our generation. This is like nobody in 50 years will look back on us and then say that this is a great option.
What is it?
This is plastic.
Yeah.
Right? We all know plastic. Like, we all know that wood grows straight out of the ground and it leaves no problem for the next generation, right? And we all know right now that if we take whatever made, like, if we can drink water from the fountain, it makes no problem. If we drink water from the fountain put into a plastic bottle, then we have a plastic bottle. So I don't know if you understand what this product is.
Yeah.
This product is, think about the volume of the saw blade that is an eighth of an inch wide. How much volume does the saw blade cut through in a year in the United States of this material?
Less.
No. What is the volume?
Oh, I don't know.
Of the.
I don't even know. I feel like this is kind of an unusual.
But this is
yeah.
This is a really, really important question.
Yeah.
You cut through this with a 16th of an inch. It's about this much, right?
Yeah.
If you add all those 16ths of an inches up, put them next to each other, and make it into a volume.
Yeah.
How much volume did that blade cut in a year?
Yeah.
Like, how much sawdust?
Yeah.
That is now not sawdust, but then it's now plastic. Plastic dust.
Microplastics.
Microplastic
Apparently,
that we can't even measure yet.
Apparently, we have, they were looking at animals and men's testicles.
Not apparently.
And every single one of us has microplastics in our balls.
Yeah, and it's a trickle down system where you.
That's
can't
kind of
measure
wild.
It now. Yeah, this is you can you're pushing on the sugar top now, and you can measure it later because you can't see it right now.
Yeah.
But think about like we did a project with a customer somewhere in the world, I don't want to mention where, they wanted to do a sustainable platform, like a platform or patio that's like 1,000 times the size of this, like the size of a NBA soccer court, you know. And then they want to do this so that we don't walk into a swamp, because there's a swamp in the area and my sculpture sits on top of the swamp. So they're like, so we do a sustainable, so they do the sustainable and then we don't have a problem. Do the sustainable patio because it's made of recycled plastic. And I'm like, but where does the plastic come from? And then when we arrive in this country, then we have 5 young guys standing with fast circulating saws, and they're cutting these 16 of an inch cuts into this plastic decking. And now you have the swamp, like they could take like this big black plastic bags, you know, these big ones. I don't know what it is like, but these big ones, you know, like
40
you have
gallon maybe?
yeah, you have a big party, and then the next day you take all the trash and you put it in this big ones, you know. They had been cutting so much of this decking, so it was the equivalent of taking like 4 or 6 of these big bags full of plastic sawdust, and then just emptied them into the swamp, you know. And this is the, like, are we doing something that's better for the world, or are we just pretending like we have to? Because if we're doing this for making something better for the next generation, are we cleaning up after ourselves? Are we only taking what we need? Then we have to ask ourselves these questions, like, this is a terrible product.
Yeah.
And it's 100% sure that we will come to the conclusion in 20, 30 years, like the administration of the United States will come and then say like, no, obviously we cannot have a product that contaminates the like Uncle Steve, he's making a deck. And when he's making it, he's cutting into uranium, and then uranium is all over the place.
We just have like all plastic in our balls at that point, I think.
The future will look back at our generation and then they will judge us for what we're doing now, and to take something that we all know is
not great,
is terrible, right?
Yeah.
Like uranium, like we know uranium is bad. Like we all know, like to take our deck, build it in freaking plastic, and then cut it in power tools, and
yeah,
the scale of that times 1 million Americans, it's a lot of sawdust.
I want to bring in art and talk about art. We've covered a little bit of the recycled part. Now let's talk about art a little bit. I think, you know, and it does tie back into the belief and the behavior that you're trying to promote. The belief, I think, behavior, those are 2 interesting points to me, but I want to talk about the art.
Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you a little bit, and you can kick me out if you want, but the trolls, do you think you'll develop beyond the trolls? Because you have done a lot of trolls. Do you think there's a point where you're going to say, like, for instance, like Thomas in 20 years, because you got this outfit, fairly cool outfit. My buddy's part of it. Shout out, Matt.
I love him, man. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Man.
No,
thank you for raising him.
Yeah, we raised him in the bars of Dallas. Yeah. He's but him and I have been hanging out for a long time. Done a lot of crazy, cool adventures together.
We have 9 nationalities in our crew. We are 26 people. I strongly believe in that different people from around the world has different solutions and different techniques. So that's why it's really important to listen to everybody, and it makes it super enjoyable to be on a crew where we have that many nationalities, because we all know different things and are raised in different ways, and it makes us stronger together.
I like that.
If you truly believe in what you're doing and you want to be the best version of yourself and you want to build a great organization, there's no other place to do that besides the Roofing Academy.
And I'll do one transition before I ask the harder hitting questions about the art. But I guess really the first one is just that, are we going somewhere else? with are we going to keep on seeing trolls? Do you want to expand beyond? I know this is probably a common question, but I want to hear it from you about like, what
Um,
about more intense stuff? Because you're from street art and there's a subversive quality to it. And really the ideas that you're presenting are a little, well, at least for America, subversive in a way. Recycling is as intensely as you're recommending, I think sometimes is a little subversive for America. Do you want to do anything with a little bit more edge?
like first of all, my mission is not to be an artist, it's to be a game changer.
Yeah.
I want to use all the time that I have to leave the world a better place. That's if you can have a, if what you can do every day can have an impact for the better of the world, for the children of your or the future of your children, nothing can make any human more happy than that. So it's the selfish thing about like the biggest gift you can give yourself is give something to somebody else, right? I have thousands and thousands and thousands of people who come into my recycle school and help me create my project.
Yeah.
They do that because they believe that we're doing something better, right? Some people might wake up in the morning and go to a job where their whole job is creating wrapping an object in a sandwich bag. So they're building the sandwich bag that's in the way of you eating the sandwich. That's the least fulfilling thing you can spend your time on. Imagining if you're instead of making the sandwich bag that you put around the sandwich, imagining if you're instead changing the factory that makes the sandwich bag for the better of, so maybe you're helping push, like creating a odor,
I guess. Yeah.
So this wraps this like.
I guess
I don't know,
I'm partly. I want to keep pushing you towards the art part of this. Like, what about?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. Sorry.
what?
Yeah.
No, it's all right. One thing I think even business people could learn from a lot from what you guys do is you go into these towns, you incorporate the local community. We had somebody in Minneapolis make a gallows, and it was supposed to be an activist piece of art that reminded everyone of Native American deaths, and it was in a way. It was effective because a lot of people were outraged. But he was from California, and he didn't really talk to the local community of Native Americans before he made this piece of art. So it ended up being kind of a negative thing a little bit in the community. They're like, we didn't really want to be reminded of this, thanks.
Yeah.
So what I would say is like, you've done an amazing job. Like when you go in, you try to you incorporate so many people in the local community that they get buy-in on your project. How does that help you make better art? I know it's good for the ability to get buy-in, but how do you feel like that actually makes the art better?
I think you have to start with yourself. Like, dude, is this something that I'm doing for? Like, is this something I'm doing for marketing, or something I'm doing for because I actually want to be on that agenda? If you're only doing it for marketing, then that can be hard, right? If you're doing it for actually doing better, then if you can feel that inside yourself, then I think then it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing, then because then you're doing it. Like you don't need to be held accountable for anything if you just do it because you believe in it. But you can do. Yeah, I don't like.
My next question would be around. Do you ever get bored making similar sculptures?
All my sculptures they look different. They have different names. They have different stories. They're in different locations, and they're made of different materials. So none of my sculptures are the same. So I promised myself that if it gets boring, it's because it's nothing anymore. So I strive to make it completely different every time, and to then use the leverage, because I'm not a company, I'm a movement, and it's embedded into the people who help me, and it's embedded into to the story that I tell, and it's embedded into the movement of volunteers that helped me make it and like that. But I think what other people can take from it is that you can make really, like, if you have an intention of good, you can have people come and help you make it. But you have to actually have an intention of actually doing something good, you know? Like, and if you have that, like, I just came here to Detroit Lakes 2 weeks ago, and there's 500 people who comes to my art talk, you know? I used to be a rapper in Denmark, and I grew up in a city of 200,000 people, and I never played a concert of 500 people in that city, because that's a big venue to sell out, right? Now I come here, and these people, they help me pull out the nails and collect the things and make food and gather the pallets, and because everybody want to be a part of something good. People are looking for the people to follow. So if you actually have something that you can share and where you can do something good, then be that person, stand up, stick out, have the people to follow, because people want to do something good. Everybody want to do something good, because that's what our mothers told us, right? Take what we need, clean up after ourselves. It's a simple thing, but the majority of the corporate America, they're not teaching us this. They're teaching us the exact opposite. Take 10 unlimited shrimps on the menu, you know? And nobody needs unlimited shrimp, right?
I think that actually ruined Red Lobster. They went bankrupt. They're giving away too many shrimp, apparently.
Yeah, and that's when the sustainable question comes into it. It's like, are you sustainable on a short term, or why? Like, why do you need this? You need it for you, or you need it for the legacy of your children, or why do you need it, right? Because the next world will be judged on these questions. That's how the new companies of the world, they will be built on the back of these bigger questions. So there will be no McDonald's if McDonald's will not be able to answer these questions and be truthful to them and be like super hardcore into them. Then McDonald's will not survive the generation of our children, because they will not have it, because they will see the mistakes that our generation have made, and they will see the devastating consequence that it has made. So,
excuse me, well, I gotta go sell some McDonald's stock.
okay.
Last question here on this piece. Do you think people on Earth will still be looking at these trolls in 100 years?
Definitely not.
And how can you take your work, I guess, then what do you think? Do you think that these will break down? How long do these things really last?
But this is the whole, like, one of the main points, right? It is that reproduce this generation that us two and everybody looking to the camera, they are a part of. We produce everything so it's meant in a way so it lasts forever. But we want it for a fast food or fast fashion second. So we produce things that are meant to last infinite longer than how we need them. This is the stick in the wheel of life. The Mother Earth have made this beautiful circle where nothing is trash and everything is obtained into the next. Right? There's not trash in nature. It's not trash. It's like compostable. It becomes a fungi that lives inside, and it becomes the fox that it works around like that, right? So why do we? So the projects or the products of the future will not be meant built to last forever. They will be built to last for how long we desire them, and then not become the project and the problem. This is what this is, right? Yeah. This lasts forever, but we desire it for a really short time. But it's a problem forever. So my trolls are not built to last forever, because the next artist in 10 years from now will have another more important story than the old boomer generation for 2024 had to talk about, because hopefully the world has moved. So it's a really selfish standpoint to build everything to last forever, because forever don't care about you, right?
I got one last question here, actually, if it's okay with you. Thinking about business owners as well as artists, there's an element of ego in all of us. I have no doubt that you have an enormous ego.
I have an enormous ego. You
I
can
have
hear
no
it when-
doubt,
yeah.
right? So it's interesting though, because like how much has ego played a part in wanting to make this movement which I would say is a very successful movement for what you probably didn't realize was going to turn out to be what it is now.
Yeah.
How much has it played a part, and how much could we remove ego, or do you not have any desire to remove ego and still continue building what we're building? I mean, as a business owner and as a person who's kind of like an artist and creating a movement.
Well, it's a lot of questions.
It's a deeper.
in
It's
one
a deeper
question. Like,
It's basically how much has ego played a
Yeah.
part, and do you think you would have made this if you had no ego? And then like, how does ego? Actually, this is the clean way to say it.
yeah.
How does ego play a part of what you're building moving forward? And are you cool with that?
So ultimately for me, it's how much of the stick do you sell to the devil for reaching your goals?
Mhm.
Or you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
because you can sell this much of and then we are making a sustainable bicycle, but actually we are selling an electric car, and the electric car, we're just selling it to greenwash that we are still using gas, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's like, what is your intention? My intention is pure. My intention is super pure, and you can't change the world if you don't try and change it, you know? Like, I can't change the world if I just sit alone back in my basement and just be like, meow, this one and this one and this one collaboration, they don't work. So let's like,
So changing the world, trying to change the world is
it
inevitably.
takes to play on the flute
Yeah.
that the world is playing.
Mm-hmm.
Because changing the world against the world is way more resourceful. Like for a war, right?
Mhm.
A fucking freaking a war.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing less sustainable we can do than
Yeah.
having a weaponized conflict to change the
Yeah.
world.
Sure.
So I believe that we have to change the world from within, and it starts with us, and it starts with the actions that we do. And if we don't have that hope, then we can't change anything, and then we might as well give up. And this will be the problem of the next generation, will be that people will give up because all the data will show that it's already too late.
Hmm.
So we will have to make projects that shows the future that yes, we can change the world for something better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what art can be a part of. Art can be a part of creating hope and creating a road, a notching road through the mess that we've made for ourselves. And those are the companies that will be the big companies that will last through the decade that we are in. Those will be the companies who truly embody this and don't just greenwash themselves in it, because the future children, they will be able to see through that BS, and they won't vote with their money for those companies.
I wanted to ask you about a little bit more about belief, but I think we got a lot of the belief stuff in here. Like, we know what you believe, and it's fully. I think last couple just little bits here. It's like any other practical things for the average American or contractor.
Yes.
What are the things that you recommend? Like
Okay.
little steps
Yeah.
towards what we're talking about.
So first of all, the world is not running out of resources. The world is drowning in resources, right? So we're not running out of tar, or running out of salt, or running out of gasoline, or running out of wood. No, we are taking all the resources and we are drowning in them. So if you have $1 billion, buy all the landfills, because the landfills will be the mines of the future. So the closer you can put yourself to the stream of the resource that we are grossly overusing right now, that will, I know I'm a numbers person. I've always been able to see the numbers. So buy the trash. The trash is the resource. Create the companies that can
utilize that.
can utilize that, that's where the money will be in the future, because that is the story of doing good and cleaning up. So that's where the money will be in the future. And the faster we can push that agenda, the better it is for ourselves. Because then I just come from a rally in North Carolina, you know, and they're so proud that and it's a beautiful park. It's a 300-acre park, and it's the only capital in the nation that has a 300-acre city park that they're developing downtown. And it's a landfill. You know, what does it tell you about our species as humans that we took out all our trash, and then we make it into a beautiful park for the next generation to, right? That has to change. That is in a time of war, there is a moment to be grossly exploited, and that moment is the waste that we're sitting on top of the landfill. That is you can do good and you can make money. Go to that.
Let's go. All right. Thank you guys for watching. This is the Hooked Better Leads podcast. Kind of an unusual guest for us. Where can people go check out the art if they haven't been checking it out? Is there anywhere there's a gallery? Where do you recommend people follow you?
Well, first of all, if anybody has a trash can, the school they study, the factory they own, or the company they work in, or just their own garage or anything, then look at it, take a photo of it, share it with the world, see if you can find that person for where the trash is a treasure. Because I built my success now. I'm 28 people full-time working on this. I'm sitting here talking to you. I grew up in a little city in Denmark. Do that, because that is the potential of the trash. So do that. My website is called thomasdambo.com. My map of all my 150 trolls is called thomasdambo.com/troll map. And we've made a nationwide amusement park built of the scraps from the civilization with the hands of the volunteers that makes it free.
Local communities are all involved in every single one of these.
You guys found it before everybody.
I think keeping an open mind on what is reusable and, being able to harvest usable materials that still have a lot of life in them.